Hello, today I want to talk about reading for school and how to make the most of it even if you don't enjoy it. So just a brief introduction, I love reading. I was a French major and English minor in college. I got a master's in library science. I'm reading Shakespeare for fun with the goal of reading all of his plays. I make lots of videos about my love of classic literature and different things relating to books and reading. But I didn't always love the reading that I had to do for school, and it took me a while to come to terms with how to make the most of it, even when it wasn't something that I enjoyed. So I just want to share a little bit of that with you. This video is mostly geared towards students in high school English classes, students in college who maybe have to take a literature class as a gen ed requirement. It could be useful as well if you're an English major or minor, but you're not really loving all of the books that you find yourself reading for those classes. It's not really geared as much toward learning to read in elementary school or anything like that. This is more like how to get the most out of being made to do literary analysis. With that being said, here are my tips. First of all, if you have a choice, pick something that you're interested in. I know that that's come on, duh, but I just had to say it. If you have to take just one literature class in college, and you have a choice between a couple of different time periods, or literature from different places like British Lit versus American Lit, pick something that you think you'll enjoy. Think about what you've enjoyed reading in school before, or what you've enjoyed reading for fun before even. Follow that interest. Try to get into that class that aligns with what you enjoy reading, because that will make it so much easier, even if not every book is to your taste. And not every book will be, even so. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably have picked up on the fact that I'm a big fan of British literature. But I really didn't enjoy reading Frankenstein for class. It just really wasn't to my taste. I still really enjoyed the British literature class, just not Frankenstein. This isn't really as effective of a tip for high school students who probably just, have a teacher that was assigned to them that is assigning a book. But for college students, absolutely look at what books might be required. You can often see the syllabus online or, word of mouth from other students who have taken those classes, and just find one where at least some of the books align with your interests. Tip number 2 is understand that you won't enjoy every book that you're made to read for school, and that is okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you have terrible taste in literature. It doesn't mean that your English teacher is evil and just wants to make you read terrible books. It really just means that this isn't to your liking, and that is fine. One thing that I learned taking classes that required intensive amounts of reading both for my major and my minor in college is that not every book is to every reader's liking, but that doesn't mean that there's not something valuable to be learned there. What I would recommend when you don't particularly enjoy a book that you've been assigned to read for school is to think about what its significance or importance is and what your teacher or your professor seems to want you to get out of it. Just because it isn't something you would have chosen for yourself doesn't mean that there's nothing of value there. And if you can understand the purpose of why you're being asked to read this, it can make getting through it a lot easier. As opposed to if you're just going into it blindly being like, what even is this? You also might be surprised by what you are glad you read later, even if you didn't enjoy it at the time. Let's go back to the example of Frankenstein, which I had to read for a British literature class that I took in college. It was a 200-level literature elective. It was basically just a survey of British literature going all the way from the Middle Ages up to the 19th century. And Frankenstein was my least favorite book that we read for that class. The story didn't appeal to me at all. I didn't feel any connection to the main character. I found it to be very contrary to my expectations for what I thought Frankenstein was supposed to be about, and I think that threw me off a lot. But overall, in the long run, understanding the difference between how people view the story of Frankenstein and what it was actually about, knowing even that Frankenstein was the name of the doctor and not a name that was ever applied to the creature he created in the actual novel, that's I don't know, I just like knowing that. And then having had those discussions about that book, about, who is the real monster in this situation, and to what degree is Victor Frankenstein accountable for the actions of the thing that he created, or for the fact that he basically abandoned it and let it run rampant, that was valuable, even though I didn't really enjoy the process of reading the book. And I think that if I ever went back to read it again, I would get more out of it even now, because I have developed an increasing appreciation of it over the years. Now, one thing that you may be considering if you're really not enjoying the books that you're reading for school is just getting the Spark Notes. I would strongly advise against this. I do think that Spark Notes, Cliff Notes, any kind of like guide to a novel or a work of literature has its place. I've used the No Fear Shakespeare's before. I don't use them anymore, but when I was a teenager first starting to read Shakespeare independently, I found it to be a lot easier to have the old and the new, the original and the translation side by side and be able to go back and forth. I think that the guides put out by places like Spark Notes, Cliff Notes, any other, websites or companies that do things along the same lines have their place in helping you to understand literature better, confirm that your understanding was correct, consider things that you may not have considered, and just generally be better prepared to talk about something that you've read but don't feel as confident in. I don't think that they are a substitute for reading the book, and I don't think that any kind of summary is. So if you do decide to go the route of using some kind of guide like Spark Notes, use it as a supplement to reading the book, not as a replacement for it. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on how to make the most of assigned reading for school. What are your strategies? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you liked this and would like to see more, feel free to subscribe. I post new videos twice a week.